welcome to another episode of I Demand Homestead. My name is Amanda, and today what we're going to be talking about is the kind of top 10 chores that I have to get done in the fall in my garden and homestead before we're ready for the really kind of hard frost or winter to kind of set in here. All right, so number one chore that I have to do, because we have frost coming not tonight but tomorrow night, is to harvest all my tender vegetables. Okay, so those are the ones that are quite susceptible to a frost. So this is my kind of haul of tender veg for today. I've got about a half bushel of squash and peppers and eggplant. I've got a good amount of fennel, about 4 quarts or so of beans, and then I have got my cabbages. So my next garden chore, number 2, is to overwinter my pepper and eggplants, which I actually have a video, and I've pulled out some of them already. I have a video on how to do that if you guys are interested in trying to see how that works. Pepper plants especially, people have been doing that quite a bit, and I'm going to try my hand at eggplants this year. So my third chore, the next thing to do is to pull out the plants and then to compost them. Number 4 item on my list is to prep any new garden beds. I always say I'm not going to put any more garden beds in, and then I seem to put more garden beds in. So what I'm going to be doing this year is I'm actually going to be widening our berry growing area. Best time to do that is in the fall, so let's see how we do it. The first thing I'm going to start by doing is laying down some cardboard, because that's going to help kill the grass. And then the grass will actually then decompose and turn into fertilizer for your brand new plants. All right, so let's do that. So here you see that I've marked out the area of my garden expansion in cardboard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little bit of topsoil that I have just left sitting around just to try and hold that cardboard down in case I get a gust of wind. Now, if I was using this as a vegetable garden bed, I would probably add about 2 or 3 centimeters of compost on top of this, just to really kind of bump up the nutrition of this soil. Again, I'm going to use this for berry bushes, so I'm not going to really worry about that, because what I'm going to do is when I plant my berry bushes, I'm going to put those 2 or 3 inches of compost directly into the hole where I'm going to plant the bushes. That way I'm not spreading compost over this whole area, which is kind of a bit of a waste. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I need some mulch on top of this. So I'm going to put probably about 4 inches of leaf mulch on top of this. And that is it. I mean, for us at this time of year, making a new garden bed really could not be any simpler than that. That will kind of decompose over the winter time, and in the spring this will be ready to plant. So this is what the garden looks like now that we've cleaned everything up. So my next big fall gardening chore is to dig out the compost from my chicken run in my chicken coop. I have another video on kind of how I use my chickens to produce compost, and I think it's kind of a great use of livestock. Not only are they giving me eggs, but they're also producing really, really beautiful fertilizer. And this is the time of year I do that, so that way I put this on the garden beds, and it's got all kind of winter to break down more completely, just in case it's not completely decomposed in the run. And that way it's healthier and it's safer that way too. All right. So the way that I do my composting is I am putting about an inch or two of compost on each bed here. I only do that on probably about half the beds that we have. So the two kind of groups that don't need fertilizer or not very much is the legumes and the roots. So that means that I can concentrate putting my compost on the rows where I know those two heavy feeder groups, the rotations are going to go in there. So it's about half of the rows where I actually need to put on this fertilizer. So that actually makes it a lot easier. I have to say this is not one of my favorite chores just because it's a lot of work, it's heavy, but in the end it's totally worth it. All right, so I'm going to get all those other beds done and then we'll come on back.
All right, so now I have the nice kind of chicken compost chicken manure compost, I should say, on each one of these rows, half of them as we talked about before. So the next thing, number 6 chore on my list, is to put mulch on all the rows, okay? Because you never want to leave bare soil for a couple of different reasons. One, it allows all those good nutrients to kind of leach away. It also could potentially allow some erosion of your topsoil, and then it would also encourage weed growth in the springtime before you actually want to plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use leaf mulch just because we have lots and lots of leaves around here. Hang on. So I'm going to get my lawn tractor out here and chop up these leaves and then put them on the rows, about 4 inches worth of leaves on there. You could use just like mulched wood chips. I probably wouldn't use straw on top of the actual rows themselves because straw can be treated with herbicides. Okay, so now we've got the straw mulch. All the rows are now is time for my number 8 fall chore. So now what I'm going to do is shoveling out the chicken coop. Mulch the pathways with organic straw. So here are all the kind of crop residues that I've got, all the leftover kind of plants that I'm not going to harvest. And my chickens, who are currently actually outside, will be kind of scratching through those. But this is a lot of green things, right? So very nitrogen rich. If you know much about making compost, you know you have to have a balance between the green things and the brown things, which is why kind of shoveling out the shavings directly from the coop into the run and then having the chickens kind of scratch through it and process it into compost actually makes way more sense, and it's actually less work for me.
Are all the old shavings, which we've got the nice green plants underneath, and so the chickens are going to scratch to try and get at those green plants. As you can see, thank you, that was lovely of you. And then they're going to compost those in.
The other items that I have to do yet, number 9 and 10, it's actually not quite cold enough for me to do them yet. So number 9 is to pull out all the rest of my root crops. So that being my, I'm going to wait until temperatures are kind of getting down consistently below 0 at night. And that way it'll be cold enough in my root cellar to put them there. The other thing, as well as harvesting the rest of my Brussels sprouts, the other thing that I will be doing as well, which is number 10, is planting my garlic. Which we'll probably do a video about kind of how you plant garlic in a no-till garden. So basically, all my garden beds are done, and the only thing I have to do in the spring is just pull back the mulch and then plant right in them, right? Because the compost is right underneath there. Now I've got a lot of kind of brown mulch, so I will need to supply them with some nitrogen fertilizer as well. All right. So thanks everybody for joining me on my fall chores. This is always a lot of work for me, putting the garden to bed in the fall. But I'm always so happy when it's done because I know that in the spring it makes just things so much easier. All right, so if you liked this video and you lasted through the whole thing, please feel free to press the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that way you never miss another one of my videos. And everybody, have a great day. Hope you're all settling in for the winter wherever you are, and take care. Bye-bye.